Hello everyone, welcome to Beyond Learning. Thanks to all the listeners who are always looking forward to the next episode. This is your host, Maria Mejias, one more time. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a mandatory subject in modern languages called Advanced Grammar. And as you know, I studied modern languages at the Metropolitan University. But I always had problems with grammatical structures, and that's the reason why I decided to learn today why advanced grammar is important. We are going to do an interview with an old friend, an excellent teacher, Scarlett Cavozza. Welcome, Scarlett.
Hello everyone, hi Maria. Thanks for having me and thank you for the invitation to this incredible podcast, Beyond Learning. I hope this episode will be useful for all the audience to clarify all the doubts regarding grammar and its importance as a subject.
Well, Scarlett, let's start. Could you please tell us what is the aim and purpose of the subject?
Yes, of course. In advanced grammar, the purpose is to provide students with the skills to be able to produce both in writing and orally more complex structures to produce their own ideas. Therefore, the structures are those that are in the program in the 5 units of the subject, and it is understood that the idea is that the student is more competent in the language and all these skills that the student will acquire in the subject will be useful for all sources of communication, written words for example, or assignments that will have to do in their next subjects and of course in their future academic life.
So interesting, Scarlett. And why is it considered necessary for a student of modern languages to take this subject?
The subject is considered highly necessary since a very large part of the subjects are in English, and one of the aims of modern languages for the student is to have a very high knowledge of English language. In addition, the student will be able to polish those bases or fundamentals in the language to be able to assume those challenges that will appear in the rest of their academic and future life.
Excellent! So that's the reason why advanced grammar is important. But what are the topics given and how do they help to achieve the goals of the subject?
The 5 units that compose the subject are morphology, verb tenses, active and passive voice, conditional sentences, and direct and indirect speech. And how do we help to achieve the purposes of the subject? Well, they will provide the students with the necessary information in order to advance in their development and management of the language.
Okay, now that we know the topics given, what are the types of activities that make up the subject and how do they allow the student to acquire the skills and competences proposed by the subject?
As the subject says, we're using not only intermediate but also advanced structures in the language, and according to the European Framework of Languages, we're working almost at an advanced or independent level. Therefore, an independent language user means that the person is capable of taking more complex communicative structures that will help this person to be able to communicate all his ideas in a very efficient way.
Well, this was one of the most interesting interviews I have ever done to clarify grammatical structure problems. Thank you, Scarlett, for sharing your knowledge with us today. I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you.
Thank you again for the invitation, and I hope the listeners have appreciated the importance of this mandatory subject for the modern languages career. Thanks.